Hey, it is Zenio Gamer, and we are here with another Siege video today. For today, I'm going to be trying to do something different. I am going to integrate a couple of monsters that you don't often see used in Siege, so I'm going to be looking for some different comps than I normally use. I know for sure Mantora is going to be making an appearance today because I think he's really underrated in PvP. But I am going to try and change things up a little bit from previous videos. Okay, so for this first fight, we're going to be going against the Varad Praha Rika. We tried to do something different today, use some monsters and comps that you don't normally see. Maybe took a couple of gambles in the process, made one really stupid mistake or two in the process. But yeah, the idea of this video is basically just don't forget about the monsters that are deep in your monster box. There's a lot of stuff that we get and we're like, ooh, new toy. And we have fun with it, we play with it for a week, and then we forget all about them. And we kind of fall into the trap of using our same comps. And the problem with that is that when the enemy puts out a defense comp that you haven't seen before, sometimes you try to force a comp that doesn't work in, and you take a lot of losses that you don't really need to take. So it's good once in a while to go through a siege and just force yourself to use some stuff that you don't normally use, or to use it in just a different way that you normally wouldn't use it. And it's just a good refresher on all those monsters you have that actually can work as great counters, but we forget about them. Now there's a lot of ways to deal with this. The comp I would most likely go to normally would have been Odin Amelia Bastet, which would take care of this team pretty quick, because once you take out the Praha with Odin getting his double stack buff, then you've got the immunity from Amelia and you're not in much danger. But because we do want to try and explore and experiment with some other comps today, we're coming up with something new. We're going to go with this Oki, Wusa, and Anavel. So we're starting off, we're going to be using the accuracy lead, so my Oki will have max accuracy. And at 270, I expect my Oki to outspeed. Wusa falls just behind Oki at 265, which is actually perfect, because I'll use Oki to reset the Praha strip, and then I'll put up the immunity for everybody with Wusa, meaning that Oki's going to get the full 3 turns from there. Anavel's purpose here is for her AoE defense break and AoE slow. She also provides me with a little bit of healing just in case Praha does happen to get back through. She's most likely on Despair, but if she happened to proc, or if she's on Nemesis and she gets back to her strip too quickly. And then Anavel obviously has an AoE cleanse as well, just in case Varad or Rika manages to get through my immunity. So here we go. Okay, so we start off as expected by taking first turn. We go for the reset here. We did get the reset, which is exactly what we needed. Now my Anavil's a little slow, and I'm actually hoping I'm going to get cut. I did not get cut, so I'm going to hold my skill 3 here because I'd rather have the AoE defense break, and we'll just chip away at this Praha a little bit for right now. Praha is actually the real threat here since we do have immunity and cleanse, and Praha is the stripper. So we are going to hold off on the Oki skill 3 right here as well. We'll just pop over on the Rika, and we did the Rika there just for attribute. And then we'll keep working on this Praha with our Wusa, and now we can get up that AoE defense break and slow. We got all 3 defenses, which is nice. We only hit 1 slow, but that's okay. Now we'll try and get some stuns down over here. And we only got 1 stun, but that makes sense because of the attribute disadvantage. And we don't really need to heal yet, so we're just going to use the Wusa skill 1. Maybe we'll pop asleep, which didn't expect to, but we did. And at this point, I think we're going to go ahead and just finish. Do we finish off the Rika, or do we reset the Praha strip? Well, judging by the attack bars here, I think we need to finish off the Rika so that she doesn't get a chance to proc out and gain control of our Anavel. And so we'll go ahead and see if we can get a sleep on the Varad. Wow. That was unexpected. So we'll go ahead and wake up this Praha now because she's not back to her cooldown yet. I stand corrected. But that's okay, there was nothing to strip, so it worked out just fine. Actually, it worked out even better for us, really. So definitely a little bit of positive RNG on this one. Although we were pretty well fine either way, but the fight, it's always nice when it goes more smoothly. And so at this point, we can start chipping away now at this Varad. We'll go ahead and reset the Varad since Praha just used her strip. and see if we can get some stuns. Of course, we have attribute disadvantage here. That's the other reason that we brought in Annabelle, is because Oki was at attribute disadvantage against 2 of these monsters. And so we're bringing in Annabelle to do a little bit of work. And then my Wu, so she's not in crit damage, but she does have some decent attack subs. So you can see, 6k damage, not huge. But it adds up over time. For this type of fight, I don't really need huge damage from her. I just need to pretty much chip these monsters down through the defense break. We'll go ahead and reset the well, we didn't reset the Praha, but that's okay. We've got one more turn to kill her, and I swear, I normally don't get that many sleeps off of Wusa in a week. That's crazy. But so there we go. It's a little bit of a longer fight, but it's a different kind of comp. And these are monsters. The Wusa, obviously, you would use at any point throughout the siege. But the Annabelle and Oki are monsters that we don't normally use as often in siege. Or at least I don't. And so the nice thing is by starting off with this comp, I'm still leaving a lot of my key comps for later in the siege. So on to the next fight. Okay, so for this next fight, we're going against a Chai Wu, Varad, and Xingxi. And we're going to be bringing in our own Xingxi along with an Amduat and a Delphoy. Now, there's a few different things that are in play with this comp. The first thing is I've got both Xingxi and Amduat on crit damage builds. Now, my Xingxi is a lot slower than I would like, and he's not in a resistance build, which is kind of common for Xingxis these days. And a resistance build would have been much better against Varad, but that's why we're bringing in the Delphoy. So in the meantime, I'm going to get a lot of turn cycling with the Amduat. He's also a little on the slow side, but he's got that AoE Despair. There's no immunity on the other side. And he should be able to turn cycle quickly enough to get out of any freezes by Varad. I've also got the Delphoy again to give me the immunity, so we're going to wait for Chai Wu to use his third skill and debuff, and we're going to expect that the Varad, if it doesn't derp, is going to give me, is going to freeze my team the first time through. But I've got a good chance that Varad will get glancing on either Delphoy or Xingxi. 50-50 chance that it'll be a glancing hit and it won't freeze me. So if it freezes the Delphoy, then I can just put immunity up right away. If not, hopefully on the Varad skill 2, same deal. I'll get a chance to put immunity and cleanse up. In the meantime, I've got Amduat turn cycling. I've also got my Xingxi acting as a counter to stun on the other side. So basically what I'm trying to do is just gain control between turn cycling and Xingxi. And then once I have control, I should be able to maintain it because I've got the healing from Delphoy. And then I've got a defense break from Xingxi and 2 crit damage built monsters, so I should be able to take the Varad out fairly quickly. Once the Varad is dead, I should be in pretty good shape. And we actually don't like to see that derp by Chai Wu. That puts us in a bad spot because now I can't put the immunity up from Delphoy. It's kind of unfortunate, so we're going to start off just by trying to stun Chai Wu, maybe? No. So on the other hand, since the Varad procced, we can actually go ahead and use the Delphoy skill 2 to reset the Chai Wu here. We'll just leave our Amduat stunned for 1 turn. But then next turn, so now that the Chai Wu's reset, on the very next turn I'll be able to put up my immunity unless Varad happens to proc right back to his skill 3. So we'll go ahead and try for a defense break there, which was nice. No proc from the Varad. We'll keep chipping down that Varad. And we really don't even care about the Xingxi proc right there because we're going to be putting up our immunity with Delphoy. That was a nice couple of stuns that we got from Amduat, and now we're back in pretty good position. Chai Wu has still got a couple of turns left before he can strip, and so we'll keep working on this Varad because that's the real concern. Xingxi is a big concern, but he's not as big of a concern as Varad. So now that the Varad is stunned and low health, we actually will take a shot to try and stun the Xingxi. I did that only because his attack bar was so low. It would have worked out nicely for me if I had gotten the stun. I did not, so now we're going to go back to the Varad. We're actually going to skill 1 and try to stun the Xingxi one more time. No go there. We're going to go ahead and reset the skill time on Chai Wu again. And we got our AoE back here. A couple of slows was nice. We'll go ahead and finish off this Varad now. Death by Delphoy. You don't see that often. Big 1,000 damage right there. The 2-turn sleep on Delphoy was unfortunate, but it really shouldn't matter at this point. That was a nice proc on my side. And so one more hit, the Xingxi's gone, and I could pretty much auto at this point, because what's Chai Wu going to do? So we'll auto out and move on to the next fight. And there you go. Okay, so next up we have this Fen Yang Rakan Josephine comp, and this is another one you could normally just copper. You copper out the Josephine, you bulldozer out the Fen Yang, and you work down the Rakan. But we're going to be trying something a little bit different today. We're going to be using this Elsharion Daphnis Fran comp. Now, I actually just slowed my Daphnis down. He is at 252. And my Fran is at 251, but Fran has a higher base speed. So with the Fran speed lead and the speed tower, I do expect Fran to go first. I also lowered Daphnis' damage a little bit. What I actually did was give his runes to Oki, who we saw in the earlier fight, or some of his runes. But I am optimistic that between the Daphnis and the Elsharion, that I should be able to finish off that Rakan right to start. And then we have the Elsharion in here to steal the self-buffs from both the Rakan and the Josephine, and then Fran's immunity obviously is going to protect us from the Fen Yang defense break. So the idea is that we're going to nuke out the Rakan, and then we're just going to work to keep ourselves alive while we're waiting to get our skill 3 back up from Daphnis, which unfortunately is not skilled up, so we need an extra turn as we're waiting. But once we get that skill up, then we'll nuke out the Fen Yang. Okay, so as expected, the speed lead and the speed tower allowed Fran to make up that 1 speed difference. She's going to get the first attack, so we go ahead. We knew the Rakan would have will because they always do, so hopefully that attack buff is going to be enough to let us take him out right off the bat. And yeah, we got him. 47, 48k total. It's a little bit of a weak Rakan, to be honest, but it works out. One other thing you might notice is that I did not bring any monsters with stun or disability of any form, and that's because of the Josephine, because we don't want to activate her passive. So we did get the defense break there, which is nice. We expected that she would strip and provoke. We didn't expect she would proc, but that's okay. We'll heal up our Daphnis. And I do not want her to counterattack my Daphnis right now, so I'll just unsuccessfully try to add glancing to the Fen Yang. I'll go ahead and steal this counterattack, give it to everybody, which is nice. And wow, that Josephine's just on fire, isn't she? She's proccing like crazy, but I'd rather the Josephine counter against my friend than the Fen Yang, so we'll do that. And we'll go ahead and steal that counterattack. All right, well, we won't steal the counterattack. We don't need the counterattack. Counterattack is overrated. So I guess what we will do is probably unstun our Elsharion. We'll put immunity back up, so hey, the procs are coming my way now. Balances out a little bit. And once again, I don't really want the Josephine to counter me, but actually I have immunity, so we're going to go for the skill or the cool time increase right there, which we got. And this should actually finish the Josephine. So we're looking pretty good overall, despite that little proc fest by Josephine. Our skill 3 should have actually just come back up, so Elsharion is not doing his job in this comp. This is like it's not really a two-man show because it's Fran and Daphnis, right? But it's a 2-unit show. I probably could have gone without the Elsharion and actually been just fine. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm just really wasting the heal here because I don't want to attack the Fen Yang. And so what I didn't want was for the Fen Yang to counterattack me. So I healed myself just to burn the turn. And we get resisted again, but we're still good. We still have more than enough to finish him off right here. So there we go. On to the next fight. Okay, so next up we have this Fen Yang Wusa Chow, and we're going to be using our Sierra, Iris, and Bulwark. And the idea here is that Bulwark will be stacking like crazy between both the Fen Yang and the Wusa buffs, and Bulwark is also going to be the one who's tanking the Fen Yang, which is what we want. And my Bulwark is at nearly max resistance. Definitely still vulnerable to a defense break, but we're going to be trying to bomb out the Bulwark. Excuse me, we're not going to bomb out our own unit. We're going to be trying to bomb out the Fen Yang as quickly as possible, and then obviously Iris is there for strip, for stun, for silence, just because Iris is pretty badass. So as expected, the Wusa outspeeds, which gives me a full stack on my Bulwark. We're going to go ahead and try to strip the immunity off that Fen Yang. Unfortunately, we did not. So I guess we'll go ahead and just bomb the Chow and stun him to start, since that's where the immunity went away. At this point, I am going to hold my stacks for one more turn and just try to steal the immunity, which I was not able to. And I feel like we should silence the Fen Yang because our Bulwark is already at full stacks anyway. And the Chow's damage will be healed by the Bulwark. So we'll go ahead and silence the Fen Yang. We're hitting the Chow there really just to turn cycle because of the boosted crit rate. And since I've now turn cycled ahead of Fen Yang, I am going to go ahead and finish off the Chow. Yeah, I'm going to finish off the Chow. So we're going to drop his HP here by half, and then Sierra is going to be able to actually bomb him. If he's on Violent, he'll proc himself to death. If he's not, then he's going to get one hit, and we have nothing to worry about. And from this point here, a couple of stuns from Iris was nice. Oh, I forgot Chow cleanses that. Actually, I don't think I knew Chow cleanses that, to be honest. So that was my bad. But I think we're still good. Our comp is still looking pretty strong, so we'll just we'll chip down Chow just a little bit further, and now we can actually finish the Chow off. So that was definitely a mistake on my part. And this is one of the things, if you don't have a monster, sometimes you forget about some of their skills. I was thinking about Chow's heal and justice and all that, but I forgot that he could cleanse those bombs. So we are going to go ahead and just try and steal from the Wusa, which we didn't manage to. But I would rather do the strip with Iris right there. And then we'll go ahead and get the bomb out on the Fen Yang. The procs there from Ciara are actually pretty nice. I'm going to try and steal this. And one more bomb right here. So we kind of sacrificed the Iris there, but it was worth it because now the Wusa can't really do anything at all against me. And except resist, of course. But as soon as the Wusa gives me her buff right here, my Bulwark's back to max, so I'll be able to get a heal up on the next turn. And we could really just pretty much auto from this point, except that Ciara would just be throwing out those bombs pointlessly against the immunity. But there we go. Comp worked despite my rather stupid mistake, to be honest. But things worked out, and we will move on to the next fight. Okay, so next up we have this Varad, Tina, and Belinus. And so I'm going to be doing something that looks really weird. I'm bringing triple fire in against the Varad. However, what we're thinking about is how the enemy team is likely runed. And a lot of times, Tiana does not have will runes. So the basic concept here is that with the speed lead, my Draco is going to be up around 320. There's no way that I don't take first turn. My Garo is going to be speed tuned at 245 with the Draco attack bar boost. My Garo is going to be speed tuned with the Draco to act before Tiana. And he should be able to stun the Tiana. And he should be able to stun the Tiana. Then my Kali is also going to be speed tuned, and she should be able to give me an AoE attack buff. So with the Tiana stunned, I will come back around and act with Garo and Kali again, and I'll be able to use Kali to tectonic shift the Belinus, and hopefully with the attack boost, the Garo will be able to finish off the Tiana. So by the time the immunity from the Draco wears off, I'll be facing just the Varad, and then Varad should not be able to kill my Garo, who's on Vampire runes. Even though he has attribute advantage, I've got the Vamp runes, and obviously Garo doesn't die easily. And that's assuming that Varad is targeting Garo, which he could just as easily be targeting Kali, who has invincibility, or the Draco, who I believe has pretty high resist. Yeah, the Draco who has max resistance. So there's a lot of ways in which I am actually covered, even though it's counterintuitive to bring triple fire against a Varad. So as expected, Tiana did not have will runes, and I'm able to take first turn, so we get our whistle right there. Garo actually got the attack boost, which is really nice. Now, if Kali had gotten the attack boost, I would have just gone tectonic shift on the Belinus. Since she did not, we're going to go ahead and give her invincibility. And, whoops. We're going to give her invincibility and take our AoE attack boost right there. We're going to stun the Tiana. And so we are immune to the Varad skill 3, which helps as well because now he's burning down his cooldowns. We get the defense break on Tiana, which is perfect, so the Garo can finish her off. We get the tectonic shift on the Belinus. We get the kill on Tiana, and so it went precisely as planned. And now he'll pop out his skill 2, and it doesn't really matter with the 1-on-3 because he's not going to kill the Garo. So we're just waiting at this point. Maybe we'll get a stun, maybe not with attribute disadvantage. So he actually resisted. It wasn't even attribute disadvantage. But now we've got our immunity back up. And eventually we're going to land a crit hit because it's only 50-50 right there. And so we got the tectonic shift, and that worked out nicely. On to the next fight. So just a moment to take a quick look at a defense, because I actually just caught this as we were finishing that last fight. So this is the defense that's running base number 7 right now. It actually just got its 8th successful defense, but it looks like it's just somebody raging against it. Never mind. Not that exciting. Okay, next up we have this Molong Harmonia Ritesh, and I am actually running out of good immunity monsters, so we're going to bring in the Ganymede to reset the Ritesh and steal the Harmonia attack bar, hopefully. Now, most of the time I prefer to use Perna as a counter to Molong so that the Molong would Reckless the Perna, but the other option you can use is an Arnold. So my Arnold here is built on, as you can see, double Nemesis Will. And so the way this will work is that as long as Molong will do his Reckless on Arnold, my Arnold will take an immediate turn and have a chance to steal 30% of his own HP, which in this case is going to be around 18,000, back from the Molong. So I have the Aegir in here for 2 reasons. One is that he's going to give me enough damage to finish the Molong if Arnold does not. 2 is that if Arnold does finish the Molong, then he gives me an additional ability to steal buffs and to steal attack bar. He also is going to self-heal a little bit, and he's giving me an HP lead for the Arnold. Now the big risk here is the Ritesh, but fortunately it had no will rune, so I was able to just reset it right away. And now at this point, I actually don't really think that I want to damage that Molong because I want it to Reckless my Arnold, so I'm just going to go ahead and brand the Harmonia, which also gave me a little bit of extra attack bar on my Aegir, so now my Aegir will act before that Molong for sure. You know what? I can actually use this Arnold on anybody because Aegir is going to finish out the Molong, and if we look at the attack bars... So here's what we're going to do. We're actually going to use our skill 3 on the Ritesh. We're going to go ahead and finish off the Molong, and then we're going to ventilate Arnold and use his skill 3 on the Ritesh again. So here we go. First we'll hit the Ritesh. We did 16,000 and we blocked the heal. We use our Confiscate on the Molong in order to finish him off. We're able to come back here and hit the Harmonia just a little bit more, and then we're going to go ahead and ventilate that Arnold, which will bring him back to full health. We'll add Glancing. Well, we tried to add Glancing on the Ritesh as well. Didn't work out. So we're going to keep working on the Harmonia right there, and we'll go ahead one more time on the Ritesh, another 16,000. Try one more time to add Glancing, which is perfect. And now I should be back up. That's a lot of procs and immunity. That's not good. Okay, so Ritesh's 2 procs right there just brought him back up to his 3rd skill, which means I am definitely going to get defense broken next turn. So we're going to go ahead and probably just hold our ventilate for right now, I think. We'll hit Ritesh one more time. And we'll hit him one more time. We'll go ahead and just keep hitting the Ritesh right there. So here's the, double Glancing, but he defense broken, just absolutely crushed my Ganny. So we are starting to look like we're actually in a little bit of trouble here, so I'm going to try, even though I have attributes disadvantage, try to confiscate some attack bar, which I did not manage to confiscate any. So we'll put the attack down on them, but I am in a little bit of trouble now. This is not looking good. I'm going to have to get really lucky with the RNG at this point. Probably should have gone ahead and ventilated Arnold while I was still alive, too. So by here, I should have actually quit this fight already, but I did play on, so we're going to go ahead and just fast forward through the rest of the fight. To be honest, the procs weren't as bad as they initially looked. It was just the timing of the procs that allowed him to get the immunity up right as his turn 3 cooldown came back. That cost me the fight. But it was a poor comp. I had no way to deal with the Ritesh, and I probably deserved to lose this fight either way. So, on to the next. Okay, so for this next fight, you were promised a Mantora sighting, and this seems to be a good place to use it. So we've got this Amarna, which can resurrect, and then we've got the Verd, which can turn cycle, and the Skogul. So there's a couple of things. We want to make sure that we can take a Skogul hit, and although Mimir is the lowest of these at 23,000 HP, generally I should be able to take all of the Skogul hits. The Chasun healing should be able to bring me back up to full health after a Skogul hit. I do believe that I should outspeed the entire enemy team. So Mimir's at 224 with plus speed lead. The Chassoon's going to act in between, and Mantora is going to go first. So if the enemy does not have will runes, and judging by this particular comp, I'm kind of expecting low rune quality, then I can do an AoE defense break with Mantora, I can do an attack buff with Chassoon, and then Mimir can just take out the Amarna right away, or I could take out the Verdi right away, let Amarna resurrect, and then take him out again the next time around. If the enemy does have will runes, then Mantora can actually strip for me, and at that point I would probably strip the Verd, and I would then use my my third skill with, it's not Confiscate is Ajir's third skill, but I would use my third skill with Mimir to just take Verd out of the equation. So since we've got two of them that are already not on will, we're going to go ahead and just take our defense break, see if maybe we get a stun on one of them as well, which we did, which is nice. So we'll go ahead and attack buff the Mimir, and we'll see if we couldn't quite kill the Verd with my skill 2, but I wanted to save the skill 3 because I knew Amarna was going to do that. And so we've got our rock up from Skogul, and we're going to go ahead now and just shut down the Verd. And although I normally don't like to kill a Skogul while the rock is up, I want to put the slow on Amarna, so we will go ahead and do that. We'll add glancing to Amarna, and then we'll just keep working on this Amarna now until the rock comes down. And obviously the Mantora is going to be taking all the damage from Amarna because of the attribute disadvantage. So we'll keep working on the Amarna. There goes the rock. But at this point, the Amarna is dead. I was able to just use a skill 1 right there. We'll go ahead and slow down the Skogul, or stun the Skogul, I should say. And at this point, we could pretty much auto as well. So the big key here is, if you look at Mantora, he's just got such a great kit. AoE defense break, AoE continuous damage, AoE slow, skill 1 strip. And on top of all of that, you throw him on Despair, and you got 2 chances for an AoE stun. He is a really, really underrated monster. And although he's only a 3-star, because he's LD, his base stats are actually closer to a Nat 4 as well. So again, it's just a monster that's not used nearly enough, in my opinion. As a matter of fact, if any of you have seen my old videos where I used to flash my profile card at the start, Mantora was the monster that got me G2 in Special League. And I think I was probably the only person using it. So there we go, on to the next. Okay, for this next fight, we've got this Tinkin, Verd, and Konamiya, and we are going to try and 2-man this one. So Tinkin will go after Joltan and more or less suicide because of Joltan's passive, which is to inflict 12% of his max HP. The Verd will also go after Joltan and more or less suicide, and in some ways I actually feel like Joltan could just solo this entire fight. But just to add a little bit of backup protection, we are going to bring in Armina, who will just pretty much mow them all down. It is possible the Konamiya would attack Mina and even stun her, but couldn't do enough damage to kill her. Mina does have some decent tankiness stats. And in the meantime, both Verd and Tinkin are going to be going after the Joltan, and then Mina will snipe off anything that comes in our way as we go along. So I was actually expecting to get outsped there because he had a speed lead, but since I didn't, we may as well go ahead and just take out the Konamiya to start. And or at least I should say slow the Konamiya down. And so there you go. Verd hits Konamiya, or excuse me, hits Joltan 3 times already, and took out half of his own HP in the process. Let's go ahead and now let's go ahead and stun this Tinkin, and then let's go after this Verd a little bit more. And that was a big hit from Tinkin. He does have that ignore defense, but even so, we'll go ahead now and slow this Konamiya down, because you see the Tinkin's almost killed himself, basically. So we managed to kill the Konamiya, and there goes the Tinkin. Okay, on to the next. Okay, for this next one, we're going to go with another attempt at a 2-man, and we're going to be using this Skogul because he's got shield and will, and hopefully the Orion will not defense break my Stella, and then we're going to be using Stella to take out the Garo. Once the Garo's taken out, the Skogul Rock should take out the rest of the team. So here we go. Okay, so Orion goes first. He actually stripped the will, but he did not get the defense break, and that was unfortunate, but that's okay. Now the question is, do we go with our skill 3 right off the bat, or do we brand the Garo first? And I am inclined to go with my skill 3, I think. My Stella's fairly strong. Let's go ahead with our skill 3 and see what happens. And we got him. So now the defense break on the Stella is not as big of a deal. We will go ahead and brand this Orion because I know I can't kill the Orion outright. And as soon as we get that Skogul rock up, we're going to be happy campers. So there's the rock. And now we're not too worried about whatever it is that the Ludo is going to do to us as long as he doesn't go like 70 times. And so there we go. On to the next. Okay, so for this next fight, because we've already done 2 fights with 2 monsters, we have to do 1 more. So we're going to go with an Immiseti and Bulldozer only. And the concept here is that I am expecting that Megan to outspeed me. So both the Shayna and the Zenobia are going to go. And they're both going to go after my Immiseti, who is in shield and will, and with 1800 defense should be able to take any damage they have to send out at me. So I will then be able to use the Immiseti to surge the Bulldozer and take out the Shayna, who's the true threat. Zenobia may defense break my Immiseti, but I don't expect Immiseti to die. And then Bulldozer, with his skill 1, should be able to hopefully stun the Zenobia or possibly kill her if she doesn't have enough HP. And even if Immiseti dies in the process, Bulldozer should then be able to solo the Megan. So here we go. So as expected, the Megan goes first. I actually was not expecting to cut the Zenobia there, to be honest. So I don't think that we can change our plans at all, though. No, I think we have to stick with the whole... Even though Shayna just used her Chakram Crush right there, I think we still have to take out that Shayna. It's just too much of a risk to allow Shayna to stay. So we did get the stun, the proc there as well. But we are... Wow, we're getting lapped like crazy, but we did... There we go. I'm not sure. I didn't see if that was procs or if I was getting lapped, but it doesn't really matter at this point because once that Zenobia was gone, a level 35 Megan, even with the attribute disadvantage, is not going to be able to do anything right here. So there we go. On to the next fight. Okay, for our last fight, we are going to try one more thing that is somewhat unorthodox, which is to use Diaz. And I have this Skogul. I've shown him in other videos with triple resistance. When you put the two together with the Diaz lead and the Skogul, it's 60% resistance. So we're going to use Diaz here as a lure for that Ajir. And so my Diaz is a lot more defense built than HP built, which is the one thing that makes this a little bit of a risk. But the enemy team, it's Ajir. If you notice, it's Ajir, Skogul, and Harmonia, not Triana. So the concept here is that Ajir is going to be attacking Diaz, who does have this 50% reduced chance to take critical hits. He has a 15% AoE damage reduction. And he's going to be tanking the Ajir, and that 60% resistance, if you combine it with, well, he's max resistance all the way. So if you combine that, hopefully the Ajir is not going to turn cycle on me. Then we're going to be bringing in this Ramahan that's going to have a skill 1 defense break. And then either skill 2 or skill 3 will finish the Ajir if he's defense broken. Alternatively, if the Ajir is below 50% health as a result of the Skogul that I'm bringing in, then Ramahan could finish it without the defense break as well. So here we go. Okay, so as expected, they took first turn. As expected, she procs and lands asleep. I suppose that should have been expected. We do have a speed advantage on the enemy Skogul, which is nice. And then, let's see. Yeah, the skill 2 here is going to give me the defense break on the Ajir. And so then hopefully this smother right here will finish him out, which it did. And that's perfect. And then we'll go ahead and just put the defense break on. Yeah, we tried to put the defense break on the Skogul. Not really critical yet at this point. So we'll go ahead. We don't really want to hit that Skogul now. We don't want it to turn cycle. So we'll just keep hitting this Harmonia for the time being. Skogul Rock comes down. We'll put that defense break on the Skogul now. Go ahead and... she procs a lot. She really... And she lands sleep a lot. Okay, but that's okay. The smother right here should hopefully finish out the Skogul. Oh! Don't unwanted harmony. We did not want the unwanted harmony. That was and another proc. Okay. We'll go ahead and try and strip the Skogul. And let's put a defense break back up and see if that's enough to finish him out. It's not. Oh, this is not looking good. This is not looking good. He's got to die right here. He's got to. He died. Okay, he died. And the Skogul Rock gets it. Oh, that was close. That was really close to finish it. But okay. So there we go. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and we will see you next time. Hey guys, if you enjoyed the video, please pop that subscribe button over on the left. It shows me that you enjoyed the video, but more importantly, it shows me that you found the information useful and hopefully it helped you in your gameplay. So here's the deal. You pop subscribe and I'll keep popping out content. Thanks guys.